My 26F boyfriend, 27M, got really angry at a dinner in honor of me. What can I do? I've completed my last final for postgrad school and went out with some friends and he came too. He was relatively quiet, but he is not usually talkative with my friends, which is never a problem. But he started behaving strangely. I asked my friend to take a picture of me and him and he refused. I asked if he could just take one for memories and he again said no. Like he was pouting and annoyed. I dropped it and just said okay. Keep in mind my boyfriend doesn't have a college degree, which I never cared about. It doesn't bother me. His family wasn't in a great financial situation, so he had to sacrifice a lot, which I understand. When we got dessert, my friends got a candle and asked the waiter to sing happy birthday as a joke. Just silly fun. I blew out the candle and tried to feed the first bite to my boyfriend and he said he didn't want it and he's not hungry. I didn't push it and just ate it myself then. When we got in his car, I said he smelled nice and looked so handsome and I tried kissing him and he told me to stop. Because we were alone, I asked him why he was upset with me and he started ranting. He said me and my friends are so annoying, we're out of touch with reality, we're spoiled and brainless. All we care about is dinners and makeup and superficial stuff and we're so stupid for ordering cake and getting a candle. I was like, where is this even coming from? We've been together for a year and he never seemed to have an issue with my personality before. He said he just realized it then. Then he continued ranting and saying I'm not actually smart, I'm just privileged and only successful because I had a good upbringing and other people didn't have the same opportunities. I know he's technically right, sure, but it just felt shitty to be told all of it when I was just celebrating. I know he's felt insecure about himself in the past, but I always reassured him that I find him really intelligent and mature and respectable even if he doesn't have a degree. I wouldn't even be with him if I didn't think he was smart or if I didn't respect him. We got back to our apartment and he just sulked around and refused to talk to me. He's still not talking to me. Well, you break up immediately, obviously. He just told you that he's realized that he doesn't like anything about you. Like, your personality is annoying to him, he doesn't respect you, he thinks poorly of you. He hasn't apologized, he's still sulking, aka he still feels that way. You would be insane to not leave him immediately for this. I don't tolerate anyone speaking to me like this. Why would you accept that from your partner? Make excuses for him? Wonder how to reassure him. What? Girl, it's not your job to reassure a grown-ass man. He's petty, he's not happy for you, he doesn't respect you, he's admitted that he doesn't like anything about you. Kick his ass to the curb and move on with your life. You cannot love a man who hates himself, he will come to hate you for loving him. Until your boyfriend does some work on himself, he will not be able to be a healthy and safe partner for anyone. Eventually his low self-worth will cause him to question what kind of person would want to be with a man like him. There is nothing you can say to help or convince him. The problem is internal, it can only be repaired from inside. The more you try to show you care about and value him, the less he will respect you. I'm sorry he grew up in such a way that he has to overcome this challenge, but that's something he will have to deal with and something you cannot be part of. Please break up with this dude. His rant was how he really feels about you. He acted like an immature brat at a party celebrating your success. And you deserve someone that will celebrate your wins with you. The right person will be your #1 fan. Never let anyone dim your light. 20 years later, my wife still struggles with the impact of her ex telling her she talks too much and she's too much. He just told you he doesn't think you're smart. I don't think there's anywhere to go with him after that. Your boyfriend is jealous of your success. You are smart or you wouldn't have been able to complete your education. I wouldn't date someone who looked down on me for getting an education and having fun with my friends. He's acting like a toddler because you achieved something great and got celebrated for it and he had to sit there and not be special because he hasn't achieved the same thing. What you can do is let him sulk and then let him know he acted inappropriately. It's fine to be insecure, upset about that aspect of himself, but he messed up a night about celebrating you when he should have been proud of you. Including throwing empty insults at you and your friends for zero reason. If he's that insecure about it, he should stop being shitty and immature and realize he's a grown man who can go to college now. But I get the sense he'd find a reason why it's your fault he can't get a degree now. My 21F boyfriend, 24 male, told me that he'd break up if I was pregnant. How can I overcome this? My boyfriend, 24 male, and I, 21 female, have been together for a couple months. It's still pretty new. This morning I was telling my boyfriend that I had a dream that I got pregnant and he immediately left me. I told him about the dream, which I thought was funny because it was weird, and he tells me he would actually break up if I became pregnant because he's not ready to take care of any kids. He claims it's his boundary and me becoming pregnant now would be worse than cheating, but I told him that's such an asshole thing to say when he tells me how his mother struggled and raised him and his siblings by himself. I also said it's not fair that because he chose to have raw sex that I had to suffer consequences alone. Now I'm turned off by him, but I didn't want to exactly break up without having some time to think about the situation and get perspectives. I know for sure I'm not ready for pregnancy. I would like kids, but I'm still studying currently. I only work minimum wage jobs and live with my family still, but just the thought he would leave me to be a single mother because he's not ready rubs me the wrong way. Edit. I want to add some things. Firstly, I have an IUD, he knows I have one. I said raw as in we don't use condoms. Secondly, he explained that he said he'd leave because that means I would have baby trapped him, which seems ridiculous. Thirdly, he said he's okay not having sex, don't know how true it is. I've always wanted to wait until marriage, but I was worried he'd leave because he said until marriage is crazy and that a relationship without sex is a friendship. If I were you, I'd stop having sex with this man because clearly he's not ready for the responsibility. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. He doesn't have your back. He is upfront about leaving you and high and dry over something that is just as much his responsibility as yours. Stop having unprotected sex with him at the very least, but in reality, if it were me, I'd break up. I'd save yourself some pain in the future and break up with this man. Applied to other situations this man just told you. When things get hard or when I disagree with your wants, I'm perfectly fine abandoning you to deal with difficulty on your own. That's not an ideal partner. Oh hi, let me tell you how many people I knew at your age who dated guys who both 1, didn't want kids, and 2, wanted to fuck without condoms. Guess who had to deal with the results? The woman. Guess how much it sucked? A lot. Save yourself the potential nightmare and cut this guy loose. His behavior is selfish and he's telling you that he's okay with using you, but he's not okay with being a responsible partner. Does he know how pregnancy works? It'd be one thing if he was saying you purposefully getting pregnant by tampering with birth control was wrong, because that's correct. But it sounds like he's saying if you accidentally get pregnant you're crossing his boundaries? As if it was a choice? Because he chose to have raw sex? Do you mean that you're having unprotected sex with this dude when you don't want to get pregnant? Why would you do that? Is it unfair for me, 22F, to stop giving my boyfriend, 27M, oral? I've been wondering if it's bad or childish for me to stop giving my boyfriend oral. I do it almost every day, but he never goes down on me. I don't push him to because I know he's not comfortable with it, but I'm starting to feel like things are really one-sided. To be honest, I have a small feeling he wouldn't want to be with me anymore if we didn't have sex. We have so much sex, and a big part of that is me giving him oral. I'm considering stopping because it feels unfair, but I know he'll give me such a hard time about it. Is it unfair for wanting to stop? Or is it fair for me to expect more balance in this part of our relationship? I feel like I'm being unfair because I'd be giving him an ultimatum of no more jobs or force him to do something he doesn't want to do. I want to add I really love our relationship and he treats me how I want. Edit. I take back the part where I mentioned, I have a small feeling he wouldn't want to be with me anymore if we didn't have sex. I was in my feelings when I wrote that, and it makes it come off like he just wants me for sex. He does so much for me and makes me feel so loved. It's the first time I see someone being my forever partner. He has so many good qualities. He is the manliest man and takes the best care of me that he can. We have definitely had arguments about this topic that I posted about, but when I look at the overall picture, the pros seriously outweigh the cons and I wouldn't give it up for anything. He loves me, and if I genuinely gave him that ultimatum, I know him too well that he will work something out. What I decided I'm going to do is make it super clear that my orgasm is just as important. He has a vibrator in his hands that he can use to make me finish. Which, by the way, he is very good at, if he actually tries, of course. If he makes this effort, then I will be really happy to keep going down on him. Too long did not read. I feel like it's unfair I give my boyfriend oral every day while he don't give it back. I'm wondering if it's selfish to stop as it feels one-sided. Any reason you have for wanting to stop any sex act is always valid. Never push through an act out of obligation. It's not bad or childish to ask your partner to care about your sexual needs. If you're worried your relationship is at risk of ending if you stop engaging in oral sex for him, then I don't think the relationship is as good as you think it is. Why do you think he would end it if you stopped? Has he said why he doesn't want to go down on you? Has he come up with other ways to make you come? It's not an ultimatum. You're saying, this isn't fun for me. I'm doing all the work and it isn't fair. My pleasure matters too. Sex isn't just about you. Life is too short to spend it with someone who refuses to go down on you. The fact you know he'll give you a hard time about reducing oral suggests he does not actually treat you how you want to be treated. You don't have to earn love by behaving a certain way. If a man won't go down on me, I won't go down on him. Simple as that. As someone who is a bit older than you, I'm going to tell you right now that you don't win prizes in life for giving up the things you want just so someone else can have them. Sometimes we think that others are going to see the extent of our love by everything we self-sacrifice, and it doesn't work that way. In the long term, this is going to build up resentment. If it's important to you, You should communicate this with your partner, and as he doesn't want to do the time, then you shouldn't have to either. Your feelings and desires are valid. It's not unfair. If you don't want to do it, don't. Simple. But you do need to talk to him about all of this. If he takes it badly, you should probably leave. GF, 27F, got into semantics argument on abortion with me. 29M, how do I proceed? So I have been dating this girl for 2 months now. I am basically her main support system right now cause she has cut off her entire family and currently has essentially no other friends. I do her laundry, I buy her groceries, I cook for her, I clean her apartment. Pretty much everything. I respect her sexual boundaries and I do my best to listen to her talk about her problems. We have spent nearly every day of our 2 months of dating together until this argument. She is pretty far on the left politically, as am I. She does not follow current events too much because it triggers her, and her therapists have all told her not to follow the news cause it upsets her too much. 2 days ago she was pressing me to tell her about Project 2025, and eventually I relented and I mentioned how they want to do even more to curb access to abortion after Roe v. Wade and basically want to have an even more extreme version of a patriarchal society. And while they haven't explicitly said they want a federal abortion ban in Congress, the language in the site pretty explicitly implies that's their goal. She argued with me saying that there is already a federal abortion ban. I was trying to explain that it's not a federal ban. Overturning Roe has gotten rid of federal protections, yes, but it went back to the states to regulate abortion. She Googled the question if abortion is federally banned in the US and the stupid Google AI tells her yes it is. So she wouldn't listen to me and kept interrupting my explanations, called me sexist, and kicked me out of her apartment. I was trying to diffuse the situation by saying we were arguing about semantics, which is stupid because we are on the same side, which she interpreted as me calling her stupid. We've texted and called like nothing happened and she's been nice to me after the fight. Today we are now going to talk about the argument and I'm not even sure what to say. Do I just give up and tell her she's right when she's not? I'm not trying to demean her intelligence, but she genuinely does not understand how American civics works, like the difference between the 3 branches of government. So I'm basically forced into a situation of mansplaining abortion laws to a radical feminist, which is a position nobody wants to be in. I'd really rather not argue anymore about it. I'd rather diffuse the situation and have things go back to normal. WTF do I do? She does not sound mentally or emotionally stable enough to be in a relationship. You're 2 months in and you're her only support, taking care of all her needs. That's way too much, my guy. I'm not saying breaking up this minute, but you definitely need to take a step back on how much you're allowing her to depend on you. I think you need to seriously consider pumping the brakes on this relationship. 2 months in and you're doing all of her chores at her apartment and you've become her entire emotional support network aside from her therapists, who seem to be encouraging her to hide from reality instead of developing coping skills or taking steps to prepare herself to the best of her ability. It seems like you're working really hard to be a massive support to her, tiptoeing gently around her disconnect with reality. Relationships should be balanced. How does she support you? If she can't understand the basics of the American political system, then she is not truly a radical feminist. This sounds like a terrible impression she's made on you in only 2 months, Op. I'd really rather not argue anymore about it. I'm sure you don't, but she forced the topic onto you. You can either stand your ground and insist on avoiding conversations that you don't want to have, which it sounds like she'd just pressure you to do anyway, or you can relent, and be subject to her getting mad at you, and argue with you about things you know are right. WTF do I do? If you're only with her because you're dependent on her for housing, start finding other housing options. Otherwise, I don't understand what positives you see with continuing a relationship with her. This sounds less like a relationship than a hostage situation. Your description of your relationship makes it sound like you are her unpaid servant. If you're into that sort of thing, I guess you do you, but I find it hard to believe anyone would willingly sign up for this. Assuming this is real, I don't see what's in this relationship for you. Things going back to normal is laughable. There has never been a normal second in this relationship. You are her unpaid caregiver who she treats like dirt and she thinks she is smarter than you, but she's not. So you're her security blanket, dad, housekeeper and therapist. 8 weeks. Wow. I think abortion is not the topic you two should argue about. You need to stop. That's not a relationship, that a very one-sided relationship. Get help to don't fall for lunatic leeches who take you for granted. You can do better.